You made your voice heard.
Why did you come out to vote today?
Because it's my duty.
Because I'm sick of politics, as they are.
I had to get out because it's a female on the ballot. Come on now.
Now we show you what the results say here in Arkansas.
Plus,
polls are closing and ballots are being counted in states with Super Tuesday contests. I'm Danya Backus with a look at the race for the presidential nomination.
Sunshine, dry, and cooler conditions return on your Wednesday, but coming up in 5 minutes, I'll talk about the timing of that next chance of rain, which arrives on Thursday.
big changes coming for Arkansas Children's Hospital.
We are very connected to what we know our patients would like to see and want and need, as well as our employees.
What it will mean for you at 10:08.
Police looking for these two people after a deadly Pine Bluff shooting.
The new details in a robbery gone wrong ahead. Thank you for joining us on this Super Tuesday night. I'm Faith Woodard.
And I'm Rolly Hoyt. A big day across the country, but we want to start right here in Arkansas. As predicted by many, Donald Trump won the Republican primary here. Nikki Haley managing to pull in about 20% of the GOP votes in this state. And note, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson pulled in a couple 7,000 votes at this last count, despite his campaign being suspended since January.
No surprises on the Democratic side either. President Joe Biden sees almost no protest votes here in Arkansas, with more than 90%. And then you have Marianne Williamson, who is the next in line. Now, the choice for the next Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court will be made in November, but who the two people in that runoff is also up in the air tonight.
Yeah, we've got 4 candidates, all separated by about 6 percentage points at this point. At last check, the gap between second and third is very tight. Right now, there's only about 500 votes separating Karen Baker from the leader, Rhonda Wood. Those two are 2 justices on the Supreme Court right now, as is Barbara Webb, who's in third, but not very far behind. That second and third spot will be the difference between which one of those two gets into that runoff coming in November.
But we do know for sure that Justice Courtney Hudson will extend her time on the High Court after winning the vote for position 2. Only one of the state's 4 Republican members of the House of Representatives drew a primary challenge, Steve Womack, holding off conservative state senator Clint Penzo.
Yeah, Womack's votes during the upheaval over the Speaker of the House last year helped draw that challenge from Penzo from his right. But he now will head into a race with Democrat Caitlin Draper-Medellin, who's looking as Womack looks to win his 8th term representing Northwest Arkansas.
And now we turn to local mayoral races in central Arkansas.
Yeah, we're going to start in Bryant, Saline County, where Chris Treat has beaten out Jason Brown by less than 200 votes. Treat takes over just 6 months after former Mayor Alan Scott resigned. He had an EEOC complaint, equal opportunity complaint. And in an interview, Treat told THV11 the biggest thing he wants to accomplish is rebuilding the trust between the residents and city leaders there in Bryant. There will also be a runoff in a very tight race for mayor in Pine Bluff.
Incumbent Shirley Washington won a 6-way race tonight, but only by 37 votes over State Representative Vivian Flowers. Those two will advance to a runoff scheduled for April 2nd.
And with Vivian Flowers running for mayor, one of those two, we'll wait one more screen here. One of these 2 men is set to replace her in the State House of Representatives, House District 65, a race between Democrats Reverend Glenn Barnes and Canasher Wooten Caldwell.
Now, with 65% of the vote, Barnes will win it, and there are no Republican or other party candidates for this seat.
We've also got our eyes on some interesting races here in Little Rock. Joy Springer trying to hold on to her seat after another challenge from Ryan Davis. When they faced off back in 2020, a single vote decided this race.
This time in a 3-person race, it looks like Joy Springer will win it with 1,031 votes. Also in Little Rock, Representatives Fred Allen and Denise Innett will hold off Democratic primary challenges. Now, polls in the West Coast just closed about 30 minutes ago. More than 1/3 of delegates are being decided today as voters cast their ballots for who they want to be the Democratic and Republican nominees for president. Danya Backus has the latest from California.
Former President Donald Trump moves closer to becoming the Republican presidential nominee with projected wins in a number of states holding primaries this Super Tuesday.
They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one.
President Biden is also the projected winner in contest on the Democratic side as the race shifts towards the general election.
Joe Biden better win, all right? I mean, I think the country, there's an awful lot at stake.
Donald Trump has the answers. We need him.
Voters in more than a dozen states cast their ballots with more than a third of delegates up for grabs. While Trump and Biden are clear frontrunners, neither can clinch the nomination this Super Tuesday. CBS News exit polls show immigration and the economy are the top issues on Republican voters' minds.
I'm going to vote for anybody who says they're closing the border.
Nikki Haley, Trump's remaining Republican challenger, has said her goal is to remain competitive on Super Tuesday. In Virginia's open primary, CBS News exit polls showed most of her supporters identified as either independents or Democrats. 6 in 10 said their vote was mainly against Trump rather than for Haley.
We'll be voting for Joe Biden in the general election, but I put in a vote for Nikki Haley today.
Some Democrats chose not to vote for Biden to protest his handling of the Israel-Hamas war.
I voted uncommitted because I want to send a message that we are tired and we want a ceasefire.
CBS News polling shows President Biden's support among key Democratic groups is not at the same levels as 2020. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And President Biden releasing a statement saying, quote, today millions of voters across the country made their voices heard, showing that they are ready to fight back against Donald Trump's extreme plan to take us backwards.
Back here in Arkansas, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders casting her ballot this morning at Dunbar Recreation Center here in Little Rock. No surprise, she showed her support for her former boss, President Trump. And following tonight's results, she said in part that Trump is dominating and call it a time to unite around our candidate and run full steam ahead into November.